Welcome to Ancient Wisdom. Sugaad. Sugaad is a concept that in a nutshell means tackling a problem through going through a higher level than the level where the problem was created, and it may be by mechanization, automation, computerization or some such mean. The main advantage of Sugaad is it is win-win for all, and completely new frontiers open up when a Sugaad succeeds. We will see this with some examples. A taxi driver has to have two conditions fulfilled. Other than that, he has to have a license. That he knows the roads of that city very well, each nook and cranny, so that he can carry his passengers with ease. And secondly, he has to have a license or the permission of the government to use his vehicle as a taxi. What is the bottleneck here? Knowing the roads. And in UK, in London, to become a taxi driver, it takes about 3 years, because in the examination you are asked variety of questions regarding the traffic rules and regulations, and not only that, how would you go from point A to point B given the conditions that are in the question. And this is the reason it takes 3 years to know London like the back of your palm, and only then you could become a taxi driver. What was the Sugaad here? The Sugaad here was the GPS, global positioning system, which takes you to any address given that address is punched in. This suddenly removed the requirement of having to know the roads. Now only one condition, having a valid driving license, is necessary. The second condition, which was the crux of the matter, is removed. The second point is, almost 40% of the time of a taxi driver is wasted in waiting for passengers or looking for passengers. Again, with the advent of internet, the companies like Uber, the aggregators, cut down this waiting timing by knowing where the taxi driver was and where the demand was and putting it together. And due to this, the whole transportation or urban transportation industry went through a great turmoil for the good, bringing the carbon footprint down. And it is win-win for all, and that is why it is a Sugaad. The second example we will see is that in Punjab and Haryana, we realized that the soil is very good for wheat sowing, and it is flat land. So a lot of mechanization was done, and lot of land was brought under cultivation using mechanized means. And yes, the cultivation of wheat increased and the yield of wheat increased too, hugely. But with that came another problem. With mechanization of wheat, when you cut the wheat, almost 2 feet of grass remains, and this has to be cut down or removed before the next harvest, before the next sowing season. And how this is done? This is done by burning it. And when you burn it, almost 100 million tons of carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere, which remains in the atmosphere, heating the atmosphere through the glasshouse effect, and as well as creating huge amount of health problem for people. And if you consider the medical bills, if you consider the lost working hours because of the medical problems or the pollution, you consider the accidents which happen because of the pollution and many other complications, you will see that the whole thing is carbon positive. That means it is much more inefficient than it was before, and that is why it does not qualify to become a Sugaad. But if at this point of time we introduce machines which can take this grass and cultivate and convert it into food for animals and give it to animals in famine infested area or areas where animal food is in short supply, then maybe the overall process would be carbon negative, and then it would be called as environment friendly Sugaad. We will see a third example of coconut, tender coconuts. Everybody likes tender coconuts. Everybody enjoys the coconut water and also the coconut to eat, the coconut meat to eat. But then there is this question of what do we do with the outer part once the water is over. Also, how do we cut it and how do we eat it? Very complicated process. And how this problem is solved? One way is to create factories on the farmland where the coconuts are harvested, cut them there, take out the water, take out the meat, pack it and bring it to the city and use the husk on the other side for multi-purpose work like making animal food or making ornaments or making utensils or some such purpose, creating a negative carbon footprint. This is one level of Sugaad. The other level of Sugaad would be in urban areas. For each home, it is difficult to keep a machete or large gandasa to cut open the coconut. Also, it is very risky because your hand can hurt. You are not used to cutting with the machete. So, for a normal housewife, it is not possible to bring 10-15 coconuts home and then cut it at her leisure. She has to get it done professionally from the market itself, and that means eat or drink in situ at that point and not store and enjoy it later on, or when you are going to the seashore, when you are going to the garden, enjoy it there and then. The market itself could be wide or could be expanded if this same housewife was able to cut and drink the water or cut and eat the meat. And for that there is a machine. There is a machine that operates on battery, which hardly takes any effort from the operator and which can be operated with hardly any training, and all safety aspects are taken care of. If we introduce this machine as household machine, then the overall market for the coconuts, tender coconuts, would expand multifold, and at the same time the carbon footprint also will reduce, and then it would be called as Sugaad. Summarizing, Sugaad is tackling a problem at a level higher than where it was created, either through automation, mechanization or computerization in such a way that the overall carbon footprint becomes negative and the process becomes environmentally sustainable as well as prosperous for the people involved in. That is ancient wisdom. Namaskar.